think it's parents.
I think peer pressure, and I think the parents too, they have a role to play in it.
I think it's our culture. It's a little bit of everybody's responsibility, really. There doesn't seem to be a high enough regard for the individual.
Some of it's got to be on the parents and the education system. I mean, they got to be informed of what's out there.
That's what some people had to say about the rate of STDs among teenage American girls, and we want to know what you think about that. We're discussing new statistics released by the CDC concerning teenagers and STDs. Should we be focusing more on teaching abstinence? Should we be talking more about sex and making it less of a taboo topic to discuss? What do you think would help the problem? This is the interactive segment of our show brought to you by Comcast Digital Voice. Now let's take our first call of the night. It comes from Darren in Philadelphia. Hi, Darren.
Hi there.
What's going on?
I'm waiting to be called up.
You are called up. You're on the air, Darren. Fire away.
I think the problem deals mainly with our images that the kids are bombarded with in the media. You see, parents are not talking to the children. They won't talk to them. The teachers often can't talk to them. And then older kids who know nothing are talking to younger kids and teaching them to know less than nothing. And in that void of ignorance, you know, kids are getting these sexualized images from all corners, movies, theater, television, everything. And they feel, I believe they feel they're expected to be sexual beings. Well, that's like the primary focus of their being is sexuality. Instead of just one facet of their being, that's the primary focus of their being. That I think that's what they feel. People tend to rise or fall to their expectations placed upon them, and kids, I feel, are being expected to. They feel that they're expected to be sexual, whether they want to or not.
All right, Darren. Thanks for calling. Lori's on the line in Boston, Massachusetts. Hi, Lori.
Hi. How are you?
I'm fine. Do you have a question or a comment?
Well, my comment is I think it's a societal problem, but I think the majority of the responsibility should be on the parents, and I think parents should be willing to talk to their children about sex, and abstinence should be right up there, because I don't think these teenagers are mature. They're not mature enough for sex. They should be concentrating on school, homework, and not trying to catch up with the Joneses. And, I mean, my kids are toddlers, and I'm just, even now, trying to teach them that you don't necessarily have to follow what so-and-so is doing. And I think it has to do with a lot of self-esteem issues, too. I think these kids try so hard to fit in, and, they participate in this because, they feel like it's a popularity contest. And I think if they had more self-esteem from parents, they wouldn't be so easily persuaded to have sex in the first place.
All right. Nicely said, Lori.
That's my opinion.
All right. Keeping up with the Joneses, you could catch something that the Joneses might have as well. All right. Donna's on the line in Edgewater, Maryland. Hi, Donna.
Hello. I think parents are to blame. They really need to give their kids more attention, know where they are, who they're with, and parents just really need to love their kids and want to do it and not feel like it's a burden to know where their kids are. If the kids say they're going to a party, call the parents at the party. Find out who their friends are. Kids will be kids, and they're normal. It's natural, but you really have to be the parents.
Donna, are you a parent?
I'm a parent, 18, 23, and 27.
Did you have the talk with them at some point in their lives?
Oh, yeah. You start when they're little, or you can start with talk to them on their level, as it goes along. And
was it tough?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's tough, and you got to keep doing it. And they learn a lot in school with the STDs, which is a help, too. But just know where they are and what they're doing.
All right. Thanks for checking in, Donna. Diane's on the line in Wyncote, Pennsylvania. Hi, Diane.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good.
Have you had the talk? Do you have children?
I have 3 children, but I'm a licensed social worker, and I run a program in a Philadelphia high school. It's called the Health Resource Center, and it's a educational program teaching teens about STDs and to prevent teen pregnancy, and it's a condom distribution program. And we're in about 12 high schools in Philadelphia, which is unusual and something that I think we should be very proud of that we're educating our children here.
Tell me about the parental reaction to it. I'm sure there are some that think it's terrific and others that maybe are not so, don't like it so much.
Surprisingly, we've gotten a pretty good response from parents. A letter goes out at the beginning of the year called an opt-out letter, and parents that don't want their children to participate in the program have the opportunity to send the letter back, and I only get about maybe 10 letters at tops back a year.
All right, so the choice factor makes it easier for some parents to handle. Dr. Marsh, are you all right with those choice programs, or still the abstinence only? It doesn't work for you?
Well, I think that, as I said before, abstinence is our #1 prevention, and abstinence is also our most effective. And I think it's unfortunate because a lot of times when we provide condoms, we're not providing a message of abstinence. And what happens is a lot of times, especially in minority communities, no one is even exposed to abstinence as an option. No one is exposed to someone that actually has kept their virginity. And what happens is that people, as I think one of the callers mentioned, people live at the level in which they're taught. And if people are not empowered or even inspired to think that abstinence is an option or the better choice, then a lot of times they'll settle and they'll think, well, I guess a condom will do. And so no one is ever really living to that expectation to say, hey, you actually can wait till marriage, and abstinence is actually possible.
Dr. Kaufman, do you think if you give a teenager a condom, it just gives them more incentive to give it a try?
Absolutely not, because they can get condoms on their own, but the majority of teenagers are sexually active without any birth control or medical care for at least a year. But I'd also like to make a comment on the abstinence-only idea. American society is very different from many other societies around the world, and also from what happened 100 years ago. We've now pushed off the age of maturity and the age of marriage until much later. In the past and in other societies, teenagers would get married as soon as they became physically mature and the girls started to menstruate and so forth. So we have to give our kids very different messages now about sexual activity, because what we're asking them to do is to delay something that's a natural
thing, and it's very hard for them to do. There's a changing social dynamic, you think, Dr. Bradley, in that girls are becoming predators or the aggressors?
There's a bunch of changing social dynamics, but one of them is in middle school now. We find that girls have become the more prevalent sexual aggressors, proposing casual sex to the boys. This is news, and it's kind of caught everybody off guard as well. It talks to the power of prompts. There are messages in the culture that suggest that kids do these things, and the research is showing that these prompts are very powerful. On this topic of abstinence education, every sex ed program that I'm aware of talks about abstinence and says clearly, look, if you don't want any of these hassles, this is the way to go. However, the research shows that kids who make the best choices get a combined program where they say abstinence is a good idea.
They get the menu of stuff and then they decide on their own.
Exactly. Those are the safest kids.
All right. When it comes to teenagers and sex, should we be pushing abstinence? Is that the right answer, or is it unrealistic in today's society? Is sex education really the only way to get through to teens? We'll get your thoughts on that coming up next.